Hello fellow video game collectors! So today I have some sad news. McFly's 8-Bit Avenue is closing. McFly just recently stated that he is shutting down his retail and online shops at the end of August. He just wasn't making enough money to stay open. So if there's anything that might interest you in his store, be sure to buy it now. I just want to say thank you McFly, thank you for the excellent customer service, and thank you for the low prices. Thanks just for everything that you have done. So today I'll be going over my last 3 orders from McFly. The first order was from about a month ago. McFly sent out a 5% discount promotion via email, so I decided to go and check out and see what N64 games he had to help complete my N64 collection. So that's when I found this complete copy of CLAYFIGHTER 63 1/3 for $33. So it's complete in the box with the manual, which is in pretty good condition, and the cart. So, it's in great condition. It looks practically brand new. So this is a 2.5D fighting game. However, it's not a very good game at all. It has just very clunky controls. The second order I made at McFly's was just a couple of weeks ago before McFly announced that he was closing his store. At the time, he was offering a 12% off sale to celebrate the new release Star Trek movie. So with that discount, I decided to pick up a few Pokemon games. So for $16, I got Pokemon Silver. For $12, I got Pokemon Gold. For $28, I got a copy of Pokemon Crystal. And then for $14, I got a copy of Pokemon FIRERED for Game Boy Advance. So I had to jump on these prices because since the release of Pokemon Go, a lot of the Pokemon games have just been skyrocketing up in price. Most games have gone up at least $5 to $10 since the beginning of June, if not a lot more, and that's just insane. So the copies of Silver and Gold will need the save batteries changed. Unfortunately, these copies don't save. I just ordered some batteries for these, so I will probably just go ahead and solder new batteries onto both of these as well as Crystal, since I bought it in bulk. So I'm just going to go ahead and solder batteries onto those. And so FIRERED actually doesn't have a save battery. Instead, it uses flash memory, in case you didn't know that. So I don't have to get a battery for this one. So I grew up playing Pokemon Blue and Yellow, and then I just completely ignored the series until the more recent Pokemon X and Y games came out, which got me hooked back on the series again. So I've never played, any of these games that I picked up before. So now I'm trying to hunt down all of the Pokemon games that I'm missing so I can play through the entire series, because that's something I would really like to do. I would love to get a copy of Heart Gold and Soul Silver for the DS, but like I said before, the prices of these games are just insane. There's a very high demand for them, so the price has just been going up quite a bit, despite there being a ton of printed copies of these games. And then the last thing I got in the order was a copy of Super Paper Mario. This is the 3rd game in the Paper Mario series. It's an action platformer first and foremost, but it does have a nice mix of RPG elements. The game is pretty unique with the cool ability to switch between different dimensions, so you are looking at Mario in this side-scrolling view, and then you're able to switch to this third-person perspective behind Mario. The first 2 games were very similar to each other, but this one changed the formula quite a bit, with no more turn-based battles. Instead, the battles are now in real time. And because of that, this game has some mixed criticism from fans of the 2 original games, and to this day people are still wanting another Paper Mario game like the original 2 games. And the last order I made was just after McFly announced his closing with a 20% off closeout sale. I looked through everything that he was offering and picked out some games that I thought would be good to add to my collection. So for $13 I got a copy of Final Fantasy Adventure. This is probably one of my favorite Game Boy titles. Despite the name, it really has almost nothing to do with Final Fantasy series. Instead, the game is the prequel to the game Secret of Mana, and it is the first game in the Mana series. It's an action RPG heavily inspired by the Legend of Zelda, as it has very similar gameplay. For those of you who have played Secret of Mana, you will see and recognize a ton of familiar enemies, weapons, and spells. I highly recommend this game. Definitely pick it up if you're a fan of the Mana series. To me, it is like a portable yet slightly downgraded version of Secret of Mana. So if you're a fan of Secret of Mana, definitely get it. Also, there were 2 remakes made of this game. There is Sword of Mana for the Game Boy Advance, which I believe I've mentioned previously, and recently there was a remake for the PlayStation Vita called Adventures of Mana, so be sure to check those out too. And then I got a copy of Capcom Classics Mini Mix for $6. This is a compilation of 3 NES games on one cart. It contains Strider, Bionic Commando, and Mighty Final Fight. I picked it up on recommendation of many other YouTubers, and I mean, who can say no to portable NES games? Then for $6, I picked up a copy of Pokemon Pinball. I snagged this, as I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to get all of the Pokemon games, including the offshoot games. So this is exactly what it sounds like. It is a pinball game with 2 different Pokemon pinball layouts. There's not really much else to say about it. It's just a fairly easy pinball game. Then for $4, I picked up a copy of SimCity 2000. So when I saw this listed, I just couldn't pass it up because I had no idea that there was even a SimCity 2000 port for Game Boy Advance. The game really intrigues me, so I'm looking forward to creating cities on the go. For $8, I picked up a copy of Professor Layton and the Unwound Future. This is a series I've never played before, so I would really like to get into it. It's an adventure game where you spend the entire game just solving all these different puzzles and brain teasers. Then for $18, I picked up a copy of Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey. This is a dungeon crawler game based on the Shin Megami Tensei series. So if you like any of the other Shin Megami Tensei games or dungeon crawling games, you'll probably like this one too. It's pretty similar to the other games in the series. For $8, I picked up a copy of Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. This is a very unique Sonic game because it's an RPG, and the only Sonic RPG at that. And it was made by BioWare. So it's a pretty easy and linear game with turn-based RPG battles. It's definitely worth checking out though. For $16, I grabbed a copy of Valkyrie Profile: Covenant of the Plume. I've never played any of the Valkyrie Profile games before, but this is a tactical strategy RPG game. The gameplay is very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics, except during attacks your parties can join in and gang up on an enemy. You might even argue that it's a spiritual successor to the original Final Fantasy Tactics game. It's more of a mature game like the original Final Fantasy Tactics than the Final Fantasy Tactics Advance series, which had a lot of child elements in it. The game features multiple plot points depending on some decisions that you make in the game. It's supposed to be pretty good, so check it out. For $12, I got a copy of Final Fantasy Fables: CHOCOBO'S Dungeon. This is a roguelike mystery dungeon game. You play as a cute chocobo. You don't have a party. You're just playing solo by yourself. There is a job system, so your chocobo can be a knight or a black mage, the standard typical Final Fantasy classes. If you've played any of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games before, it's very similar to those. Next, for $6, I have Kirby's Epic Yarn. This is a fun traditional 2D platforming Kirby game. The art style is just great with the use of strings of yarn and fabrics and things of that nature. It's a very easy game, as you cannot die in it. And it's also a couch co-op game, so definitely grab a friend to play it with. And it comes as a very recommended game, so definitely check it out. For $7, I grabbed a copy of Blue Dragon. This is an exclusive RPG for the Xbox 360 as it was produced by Microsoft. It has turn-based battles and a job system. It kind of looks like Dragon Quest, it has that feel of it with the cartoony art style. But it's definitely a fantastic RPG for the Xbox 360. As you know, there aren't really many RPGs for the 360, so definitely check this one out. For $3, I got a copy of Prototype. I decided to grab this because I've been sitting on the sequel unplayed for a few years, and mostly because I've been wanting to play the original game first before I played the sequel. This is an open world action game where you have some pretty crazy and ridiculous superpowers. I'm definitely looking forward to checking out and playing this series. Then finally, for $11, I got a copy of Sonic Adventure. I haven't really played any Sonic games since Sonic 3 or Sonic & Knuckles. This is really not a traditional Sonic game. It's more of an arcade-like game. And, I say that it has some traditional Sonic elements, you know, running around and collecting coins, but it just has a lot of different mini games that you can play inside of it. So despite being a different kind of Sonic game, it is a must-have for Dreamcast owners. So that's everything I got from McFly's store, and again, I just want to say thank you so much, McFly. If you liked what I showed you today, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, as you know, that always helps me out. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you think about the games that I picked up from McFly, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. And remember, you gotta get the power up to beat the game.